Well, hello once again. I'm Kevin Turner from Real Estate Talk. Now, you're about to meet a remarkable young man who, at the age of 25, already has a property portfolio worth almost $2 million. When you consider that Vidu Udaya moved to Australia when he was only 11 years old, now that's quite an achievement. Vidu, welcome to the show. You are originally from Sri Lanka. You moved to Australia after spending some time in Pakistan. How has that experience, that change of culture, impacted on your decision to grow a property portfolio?
Well, Kevin, coming from an Southeast Asian background, I've got a massive exposure to two different extremes in life. Coming from Sri Lanka, you see a lot of poverty, and especially at that time where we were, going through a significant civil war, and then coming to Pakistan and then living, a little bit actually a lot better because my family actually was brought into Pakistan as my father was a consultant at that time. And then I got an exposure to see how the other side of the world lives. What I really found the biggest significant difference by coming to Australia from a Southeast Asian background is how accessible opportunities are to everyone in the community and not just a select few. And, living in a country where such opportunities are accessible, it almost seems like a waste not taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, I guess reading the story too about your youth, you were very focused on building your business. You were not distracted in any way by, I guess, what a lot of your mates were doing with their late nights and so on. Has that been a key factor in helping you to get this psyche right?
It's knowing what I want to do in life. It's always been a challenge for me. I always found that being proactive, taking advantage of opportunities as much early on as possible would be advantageous for me later on. So since I was very young, I always wanted to achieve something remarkable, not just to become part of a process. So I always, I like to think that life is, an opportunity to do something significant, not just going to a working process where you basically start at 8:30 and you finish at 5:30. And before you know it, you're fair bit down the track of life, and you're looking back and wishing that you have achieved something. I don't want to have that kind of regret.
Yeah, well, you're obviously not going to miss many opportunities. I can tell that just from talking to you now. Well, here we are talking to you in your office. You are the managing director of a family developing business. I imagine that's given you somewhat of a good start on your property journey.
It has actually, because what it did for me was it gave me an appreciation for all the significant people involved in the creation of a property. Because when I started off, I was basically encouraged by my father to start this from the ground level up. So I was involved in the construction physically. I did a bit of concreting, did a bit of the plastering, did a bit of the framing, worked with the trades, gained an appreciation for the trades. I didn't want to be one of those people that are running a business one day that was parachuted in to the top chair and had no appreciation for frontline management and all the frontline workers. So having that appreciation, knowing exactly the difficulties they face on a daily basis, gives me a much better opportunity to be effective in what I do and not just be ignorant of the fact that they're the ones really doing the massive amount of hard work, facing the weather conditions and facing the difficulties that a lot of the internal managers inside an office would never understand.
Without exception, Vidu, the people I talk to, people like yourself, you've always got a great story about their first property purchase and the lessons they learned from that. So what's your story?
My first property was purchased in Berwick, but it was almost coincidental because what happened was I was going through the classifieds at that time, and I noticed there was a block of land, fairly fair size. I think it was just over 700. I can't remember the exact size at the moment, and it was going for about 150. At that time, I know that in the Berwick area, it was an average price block was about 200 to 250. So 150 was a fairly decent price. So I didn't want to jump at the opportunity because I always believe in acting diligently a little bit more. So I looked into it a bit more, and that fact, what it should be in terms of value for money, got confirmed. And I when I dug a little bit more, I found out that this is one of the very last blocks in the Chase estate, and I like buying the last block because I believe, any investments are simple theory of supply and demand. As soon as demand starts diminishing, demand is consistent and supply starts diminishing, there's going to be an uplift in price. And when I found this block, what I actually found out was the vendor was looking for a quick settlement because they had a personal reason and they just wanted to, they had the intention of building, but they never wanted to carry it out. So they wanted to get out of it. So I was able to facilitate that process for the vendor's benefit with quick settlement, and I was able to acquire that property, which I, later on found out to be around the 200 to 250 mark. So for about 150. So purchasing right is a key strategy in any property investment, because if you don't purchase the land, it's very difficult to actually become profitable through the development side of things. And having purchased it right, I gauge that Berwick would hopefully be, somewhat of like a Mount Eliza, where it's away from the city, but it's almost a jewel away from the city, whereas it offers a lifestyle that people want. And I gauged that because there was Monash Uni, and there was a lot of private schools coming in. There was Hailbury, there was St. Margaret's, and there was a select school called Nosal. So having, millions of dollars at their disposal, I'm sure they did their diligence when they were selecting to put, schools that were charging between $20,000 to $25,000 per annum in a suburb. So I presume that was because they also forecasted that this is going to be a high growth area. So what I did was, instead of building a single story, more, affordable home, I took the punt and built a larger home. And that, and because of that punt, I spent maybe about $400,000, and I made it a home that is unique in its nature. So I wouldn't have to be compared to the other bigger double-story homes down the road. So I guess this all paid off, because in about 12 months' time, I had Westpac walk through the property and gave me a valuation of about $880. So, my investment was about 150 for the land and 400 for the house, so about 550, and the capital uplift up to 880, which I was happy with in 12 months' time.
That's a great story, along with lots of other stories too. You can read all about Vidu's story in the October edition of Australian Property Investor magazine, and in particular, how he went on to build a block of 4 units and the lessons that he learned from that. And he's also going to tell you about his settlement strategy. He touches on motivation and risk, and you can see the full details of his complete property portfolio in the October edition of Australian Property Investor magazine. That's where we'll have to leave it, Vidu. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to following your development, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.